Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. This is a February 28th, 2015 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Pledge to the flag. Supervisors' announcements. I don't have too much to announce tonight. I do have a couple items, but the first thing just came up a few weeks ago. I had gotten a call from our chief of police, and we were talking about issues in the town. And one of the things we've recognized recently over the last few years is this drug epidemic. There's a literal epidemic of drugs in the town of East Fishkill, and not just us. It's Wappingers. It's the whole region. And what is happening is, with the heroin, it's gotten so cheap and pervasive, we've had a lot of overdoses. That being said, thank goodness there's a new treatment called Narcan. That's Naxalone or whatever, some name, but we refer to it as Narcan. And the Narcan has really been a lifesaver, a literal lifesaver for those young and old people. And the heroin has touched people of all ages. It's really kind of surprising that it's done that. But the Narcan is a real lifesaver in saving the lives of people who otherwise would succumb to the overdose because they don't recover. They go out and that's really it. So our police department has been trained and issued Narcan, and we're very happy that they have, to be honest with you, because I was talking with the chief a few weeks ago, and he said, "No, we had an incident, and one of our officers responded to an overdose." And we talked about, and I called up the officer, and I spoke with Officer Montagna, and I said, "How did it go?" And I said, what was the situation and such, and Officer Montagna mentioned it. She told me the story, and I was very impressed. Because, and one thing is, and I'm going to read the proclamation because we're very proud. This was our first use of Narcan, saved a young man's life who OD'd. I believe it was on Super Bowl Sunday in the middle of a snowstorm. And this was our first use of it. And Officer Montagna said that when she went to the residence, there was no evidence of drug paraphernalia. It wasn't obvious what had happened. And I have to think that, by her quick thinking, her discussion with the parents, and her quick action really saved this young man's life. So I do have I drafted a proclamation from the town board to Officer Tammy Montagna in just recognition of this, which I would like to read. And Tammy, if you would just stand up, and I don't know, would you stand up here? If the town board would like to come down, this is going to be a little bit informal, but if the town board would like to come down, better get a microphone. Somebody's going to be yelling at me really soon. Town of East Fishkill, in recognition and appreciation, on Sunday, February 1, 2015, at approximately 11 p.m., Town of East Fishkill Police Officer Tammy Montagna responded to assist a medical call at a residence in Stormville. Arriving at the residence, Officer Montagna found a young man unconscious in his bedroom. Surveying the scene, Officer Montagna found no evidence of drug-related activity, and only after speaking with the parents about the youth's history did she identify this as a heroin overdose. She then administered Naxalone, which is Narcan, an overdose reversal drug. The East Fishkill Town Board recognizes Officer Tammy Montagna for her astute police work, because her assessment of the situation and her quick action saved a young man's life. And I'd just like to say, Tammy, we are very proud of you, because you could have gone in and it could look like any other incident, but you were smart enough to talk with the parents and to identify what the actual issue was and administer Narcan swiftly enough to save this young man's life. And Peter, I believe you said last night that you received a phone call from this young man afterwards. Did you receive a phone call from him that he was saved, and a message from him, and he is in rehab?
I was just advised that he went to rehab, yes.
Really, really. So this young man has another chance at life, and he's going to be going to rehab, and I can't thank you enough. So on behalf of myself, the town board, and the town of East Fishkill, I'd like to present you with this proclamation, and sincerely thank you very much. I got to put this back now, because if I don't, the AV guy's going to yell at me, and I don't know who hit the wireless mic. But I'll stand on this side for just 1 minute to say that Officer Tammy Montagna, I think, is representative of our entire East Fishkill police force, a police force that I'm very proud that works for us, the public of the town of East Fishkill. You're all very highly trained, you're all very professional, and I salute every one of you. And Tammy, thank you very much. And next time, I'm going to make sure they leave the wireless mic out. So, but thank you very much. Number 2 on the agenda, and just a quick announcement. I'm really exhausted. We've been working, I cannot tell you how we've been working on this Hillside Lake grant. I know some people have been asking where we are with the Hillside Lake grant. Met with Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney last summer and one of his aides. They asked me straight out, what are a couple of the projects the town of East Fishkill needs? I said, there's 2 projects we need. I said, we need to get our EPA approval for our Superfund, our Ryan Drive Superfund, and get the water main and everything approved for that project. And I said, we have some issues in Hillside Lake that we need to see attended to. And one thing I have to say for Congressman Maloney, he's a man of action. We've been working very hard. We got the call in September, October, about possible funding for our grant. We provided them all the information. Many thanks to our engineering department. Scott has been terrific, his assistant engineer, and also the other assistant engineer that does our mapping. We produced a lot of documents for the people that are processing the grant. Then we got the call 2 days before Christmas Eve from another committee in the state that has to review grant applications, and they wanted some changes made. First it was just a few changes, then it was a lot of changes. The grant process is very, very grueling. No matter what our grant writer said last year or 2 years ago, when he kind of made it like, oh, there's going to be a lot of money. No, it's a very grueling process to get a grant. But I got to tell you, with the people that have been helping us, with Congressman Maloney's office, we are very close to finalizing the grant application and getting it out. And I think, and I don't want to talk about it too much because it has changed a lot from what the original proposal was to where we are now. But we're very confident we will have this grant sent out in approximately 2 weeks to FEMA for their final review and approval. So we're very hopeful. At the next town board meeting, I believe I'll be able to tell you exactly what the project scope is and what the project is, because it has changed due to a lot of requests on behalf of this state committee. So we'll see what happens. We're very, very hopeful. I'm going to leave it at that. We've done a lot of work. I would say by the end of January, we probably had 40 hours in it just on design, HydroCAD, and a lot of other design issues. So we're very proud of our people that we could produce with this work, and we'll see what happens. So at the next meeting, I'm very hopeful I can present to the audience and to the residents of Hillside Lake our grant application and explain it. And let me just say this, if the grant does get approved, it's going to be a 2-phase approval. The first phase will be approval for the design. So we'll be able to get down and do the actual serious design work. But if we get the approval and we move to phase 1, they will automatically take the bulk of the money for the construction and set it aside. So that way, if we do the design work, they're satisfied, then they will authorize release of the remaining funds for the construction. So we're very hopeful, and if we do get approved, we will be meeting with the public in Hillside Lake to show our proposal, what we think is a good proposal, and take comments from the public. But remember, we can only work within the parameters of the grant. So if they give us money for this, we have to do this. But we can see how we can work together to make this a very good project and maximize the benefits to Hillside Lake. So we're hopeful, and hopefully at the next town board meeting, I'll be able to give a little bit more of a presentation on the scope and the actual project itself. So we'll see what happens. And I think our next town board meeting is going to be only 3 weeks away, because it's going to be a week early next month. So hopefully we'll have that information. So that's all of my announcements for tonight. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Present.
Councilperson Franco.
Present.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Present.
Supervisor Hickman.
Present. Thank you very much. The town board has received the minutes of the January 26, 2015 meeting. Clerk Correa, have there been any changes, modifications, or additions to that?
No, there has
To the
not.
minutes? With that being said, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 26th meeting as proposed?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Under receipt and file, we have nothing under receipt and file tonight. Public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on any agenda items? And before we get going, I would just like to say we do have a public hearing to consider local law amending the zoning code on nursing homes and alternative care housing. So if you'd like to comment on that, it's probably better to wait till the public hearing is open for that. But if there's anybody like to comment on anything else that's on the agenda at this time, feel free. All right, there being none, the public hearing, do I have a motion to open the public hearing to consider a local law amending zoning code 194-62 on nursing homes and alternative care housing? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The public hearing is now open. Tom, would you like to give, well, I'll ask you for a little background in just a minute. We had discussed this proposed law the last workshop. I know the board's had copies of it. We had a discussion upon it at that time. We did send, as per the regulations, we did send it up to the county for county response. The county's got a comment on this law. So we haven't gotten their responses yet, so we won't be voting on the law tonight. So tonight we're just going to be taking public comments on it. So that being said, is there anything the board would like to comment on before we get started? I'd ask the public to come up. All right, anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against the local law amending zoning code 194-62 on nursing homes and alternative care housing? Anybody in the audience like to speak? Sir, come on up.
Good evening, Supervisor and board members. I have a few questions on this. I don't know if this is an appropriate venue to ask them. One of the concerns that I had was that the size and scope of the project. Is there the number of beds per unit or building? Is that in a law, or maybe you?
Yeah, there's a maximum per acre, and this is an assisted living, so it's not individual part. I mean, it's within. It's for those who are unable to live on their own, so it's assisted living,
Right,
not
so-
apartment care.
So
Okay.
would there be?
So it's a bed.
So it's almost 2 beds per room, or 1 bed?
Well, no, actually, the how the configuration is set up is regulated by the State Department of Health when they grant the license. Our ordinance limits it to no more than, I believe it was 12 beds per acre.
12 beds per acre?
Right.
I thought the original discussion was 6 for some reason. I might be mistaken.
No, I don't recall that.
Okay, so it's 12 beds per acre, but you're
Well,
not
that
sure
was-
on what the county ruling is
Well,
on that?
what it would be is, you have site limitations, because you can't get a building bigger than what the bulk, whatever site it's on, you have to subtract the wetlands, sensitive lands, et cetera, and you're going to come down to a building envelope. Then you have certain setback requirements and bulk limitations as to how big. So that's going to limit the size of the building.
Right.
And then with that, you get square footage requirements by the Department of Health.
Right. Now with the square footage requirements, does that also include the alternative care housing? Is that under the same scope?
This is
It's the same terminology.
Correct.
That's what I'm trying, just to
Yes.
get clear for me,
Yes.
Because, so the alternative care housing is quote-unquote assisted living?
Correct.
That would be the same thing. I think we answered that.
Right now, we have a special permit in our zoning ordinance, which this would repeal, which is a alternate community housing.
Back from 1985,
It
I
goes
think
back
it
to
was.
1985, and it has no limitations as to what groups can be in that. It's a much smaller lot requirement, and it's a similar density.
So these patients would actually be diagnosed as needing assisted living?
Correct. It has to be
It
either a
would be a
medical...
medical,
Correct.
medical
And it
purpose.
excludes those things that would be more of a treatment facility. It excludes any alcohol, drug, or mental health treatment.
Right.
Okay, the only mental issues someone might have that's here is a dementia from age, and that's clearly set forth in it.
And
So
that
it's
would be
truly
part of the assisted living?
Correct.
That they would be able to have that?
Correct.
So it'd be, they would have med gas on the facility and,
Right,
you know,
they
for
may
different
have
rooms.
a memory care unit where people who have memory issues would be there, things like that.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. As far as the memory care unit, is that, just in layman's terms, is that an adult daycare center? Would those not
Well-
be residents, but they would be visiting adults to the memory care unit?
Well, it would be primarily for residents,
Okay.
residential. There is provision that it would be allowable as a accessory use, depending upon the size of the building, et cetera, to have a day program where people could drop off an elderly parent or someone who needs some care during the day.
During the day. Do we have any size on that, or do we have any?
Well, that's all within the configuration of the square footage of the building in bulk. I mean, if you go through it and you applied the formula, if you have a 10-acre lot, which is minimal,
Right.
that gets whittled down by subtractions of environmentally sensitive land, and then the bulk regulations. You can't have a lot coverage more than 30%, I believe, something
But
like
if you needed a 10-acre lot, then, and you only have 5 buildable acres, how would that work? And
that. Well, then your bulk area, it's 30% of the 5 acres, because that's
so the adult daycare
subtractions.
would be 30% of whatever buildings are built?
No, that's lot coverage, so you can't have a building
Coverage.
that would exceed 30% of the lot coverage.
Okay.
And lot coverage is coverage of the
All
building.
commercial uses in our entire zoning ordinance, the limitation on sides of the building is all generated by virtue of those formulas when you get the lots and it's analyzed.
Right, right. Now, would they be looking at something like 100 units there or 200 units there? Is that?
Beds, not beds.
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 It could, I don't know where you're referring to, because this is applicable anywhere within the Hopewell Hamlet.
Within the Hopewell
With 1 mile of the Hopewell Hamlet. The reason for the initial limitation of that is because that's the only area where it's theoretically possible to have some water and sewer. It requires public water and sewer.
Okay.
We've had people come in proposing these in different parts of the town, but those applications haven't been able to go anywhere because there's no water or sewer available.
Do we take on that we provide them water and sewer for these facilities?
It's their cost.
It's their cost?
Their cost.
Okay. Is there any, this may sound like a silly question, would there be any preference for town residents? Is there anything that can, I mean, that's probably
No.
stretching it. There would be nothing available for someone in
Usually,
town?
Well-
the process that would happen is someone who wants to sponsor one of these facilities has to go and obtain a license from New York State. They have to be a licensed provider of this service.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Department of Health also analyzes the need of the area.
Right.
Because they don't want to license a facility, have it open and not have
Have you
sufficient...
been approached at this point by a facility for
No.
licensing or anything?
No, just as I said,
one
maybe in
on-
the last 2 years for
Yeah.
other, like along the 52 corridor.
Yeah, but no water and sewer, so they kind of walked away.
They walked away from that, okay. I think that's all my questions. Do you have anything on the, not as far as the bed, is there any from the county or the state on patient to staff ratio? Do they have to have, if there's one bed, do they have to have 3 staff members?
The health
or-
department regulations have that. I don't have that right here with me, but there
Okay.
is extensive regulations on that.
And they have to be,
Okay.
they're extensively regulated by the state. I know, as you said, that they have to have licensed operators, and they're very stringent. We found out from the other proposal. And there's not a lot of these people around, so it's very specialized and very regulated by the state.
Okay. And this proposal is specifically for assisted living,
Correct.
medical necessity population?
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a Quick question, does the zoning law include any height requirements?
I believe it does.
Yeah, it's,
We have 49, no,
no,
40.
it's 30, it's 35 feet, something, I don't know. It's here.
Just under the bulk.
Okay, and I'm not...
36 feet, 50 feet to the gable, but 36 feet to the height of the top of any floor, and then they could have a gable, which is consistent with the commercial buildings in town.
Two-story?
Yes, two-story, right.
No,
Well, 36, whatever you get, 36 feet. Yeah.
I'm not good with that,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
three-story.
Anybody else? Okay, anybody on the board? We've discussed this pretty much detailed.
I'd just like to highlight the fact that under the law, we had to refer it, and Dutchess County has a 30-day time period. They have 2 more days to get the comments in, so the board tonight would not be voting on it. You would vote on it
We're
in a
just going
future
to
meeting.
close the public
comments are
hearing
received.
tonight, awaiting the comments
Correct.
from Dutchess County.
I had a comment. Tom, I just want to correct me if I'm wrong. For assisted living facilities, the state has strict regulations on the medical conditions of the patient or the residents. So if they're in too poor of health,
Then that's a nursing home.
that's nursing.
Right, this is someone who's frail and may need, they're somewhat independent, but they need some supervision or light medical care. It can't be like a nursing home.
Right, okay, thank you.
We have nursing homes defined separately in the zoning ordinance.
Anybody else? Yes.
Are they making reference to the Cannon property or the
This is
property at
just-
Joe's?
There's no proposal before
No
the town.
specific
This
proposal.
This is just being an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
But there's no application, there's no one discussing it, nothing like that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, there being none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on the local law amending zoning code 194-62 on nursing homes and alternative care housing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed, and we will wait comments from Dutchess County. Thank you very much. Moving on to resolutions tonight. The first, what happened? We only have 5 resolutions tonight?
Four.
Where's the next page? We're missing some here.
Four. We're to four.
Oh, my goodness.
Here.
Councilman Franco, would you like to read the first resolution, please?
Sure. Whereas the Recreation Department is in need of seasonal maintenance workers, a cleaner, and a recreation assistant, and it is determined that the seasonal maintenance position is limited and seasonal, and whereas recreation maintenance workers need to be hired at this time, as well as some rehired from previous years, and their amounts of salaries to be paid is referenced on the annexed list, and whereas a cleaner is needed to replace one who is leaving, and whereas Judy Bruschi has been interviewed and recommended to the town board for the part-time cleaner position with a salary of $10.78 an hour, and the Lime Kiln Recreation is in need of a part-time recreation assistant, whereas Michael Vinci has been interviewed and recommended to the town board for the part-time recreation assistant position with a salary of $9 an hour. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the town controller be and hereby is authorized to place on the town payroll a seasonal maintenance, part-time cleaner, and part-time recreation assistant as set forth in the annexed list. And be it further resolved that the said seasonal maintenance shall be seasonal employment for the amounts listed in the memo, and that upon completion of their task, they shall be removed from the payroll unless further ordered by the town board.
Thank you, Councilman. As everybody sees, we do have recommendations signed off by the acting supervisor of building grounds, Jared Ewell, and the seasonal recreation. The reason we have to bring him on now is because, believe it or not, spring will be here soon. And what's going to happen, opening season this year, I think is around April 11th. So there's going to be a bunch of work to do from the time the snow melts until April 11th. I told Jared we would work together. I'd like to bring the staff on staggered as we need them. But unfortunately, what may possibly happen, as it did last year, all of a sudden spring will be here, and they're going to have to bring everybody at once. But we need to be ready. And most of these people have come back from previous employment. Regarding, and the cleaner, we also did have our cleaner who's worked here part-time for a few years, did a very good job, but he was leaving. So that being said, we have the list, and it's been interviewed. Do I have a motion to authorize the hiring of seasonal employees for recreation and building and grounds?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Jarrett will be very happy. Number 2 is to authorize the hiring of part-time typists. We refer to them here as floaters. They do clerical work. They offset staff. People go on vacation. Some offices. The assessors will be really busy come grievance day. Court is often very busy. So these are supplemental part-time temporary help. And we have interviewed them. Councilman Cassidy, would you read the resolution?
Whereas the town is in need from time to time of temporary employees, commonly referred to as floaters, to assist in the clerical functions necessary to operate town departments. And whereas some of the original temporary part-time typists are currently unavailable to work, and whereas the town clerk has interviewed these applicants and recommends the following to the town board, and now therefore be resolved that the applicants referenced to on the annexed sheet list are hereby appointed to temporary part-time typists in the town, being paid an hourly rate of $13.29, and be it further resolved that the typist shall work at the pleasure of the town supervisor in accordance with all the previously established rules and regulations.
Thank you, Councilman. And I know the town clerk and also one of our town justices and our town assessor interviewed the potential floaters, and they have recommended these 4 be hired. Do I have a motion to appoint town hall temporary part-time typists?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is to authorize Julie's Jungle rebid for Phase 1 equipment and installation. Resolution reads, reject bids and authorize rebid for Julie's Jungle Playground Project, whereas the town clerk duly advertised and received bids for the Julie's Jungle Playground Project, and whereas those bids have been reviewed, and whereas it is the desire of the town board to rebid the same due to the wide price range that we'd received in the bids. At this time, the town board does not wish to act on the bids that we have received. Now, therefore, be resolved that the bids received by the town clerk with respect to Julie's Jungle Playground Project be and hereby are rejected. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized to notify all bidders as to the outcome of the bid, and that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized to advertise the Julie's Jungle Playground Project rebid. What had happened is we'd received the bids, and there was quite a range, and we reviewed the bid packet, and our town engineers just going to make a little clarification at some points we think might have been misconstrued in the original bid, and we will get this bid back out and rebid it. And I think, Scott, you're working on the clarifications, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that being said, I think it would be best to reject the bids and authorize rebid for Julie's Jungle Playground Project. Do I have a motion to reject the bids and authorize rebid?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Fourth resolution, authorizing the name of a private road. Councilman Marinero, would you like to read this one?
Whereas Dutchess County E911 has requested that a private road located off Townsend's Road be designated with a proper name, and now therefore be it resolved that the private road off Townsend's Road be any hereby is designated as Vanderbilt Corners. Said road being shown on the subdivision entitled Jackson Corners, Phase 2 subdivision.
Thank you, Councilman. Who came up with that name?
The people did.
The applicant?
Yeah, the applicant.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, well,
Yeah.
that's not what I've named it, but Not my road, so it will be ours.
It is our road.
It will be.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, that's true. We can always change the name.
Until Noah Way came along.
Yes.
Well, let's not talk about no way. All righty. Do I have a motion to authorize the naming of a private road?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. We're going to table the hiring of a building inspector. We'll table that till the March 19th meeting. That's it for resolutions for this evening. And now we have budget transfers. We do have one budget transfer, I believe, and it's an appropriation from contingency to recreation playground capital equipment. And actually, what it is to do, it's to buy a groomer. Thank you. Couldn't remember what they call that piece of equipment. Speaking with Jarrett Ewell, our acting building ground supervisor, talked about equipment, and I know, Councilman, we had talked about their equipment a while back. The mowers are in good shape, but typically when we buy equipment for the town of East Fishkill, I would just say we buy good equipment, and we have a good maintenance staff. We keep it up, and they do last for quite a long time. But we are in need of another groomer. Again, going back to the fact spring will be here soon, and we have a lot of fields to groom. We've actually been doing some work to our fields, so keep them up. They've requested a new groomer, and we're going to keep our old groomers as standby. And I believe, what was the amount? Was, I believe, $16,000 was a budget transfer for contingency to recreation playground capital equipment. So, that being said, do I have a motion to authorize the budget transfer for a new groomer from contingency?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Jarrett Ewell's going to be a very happy person tonight. I'll tell you that. I hope he's watching. That's it for the budget transfers, and that's it for the resolutions. Now it's time to take public comments on general town issues. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on general town issues?
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank you for the announcement regarding the Hillside Lake, the Hillside Lake grant. Hopefully by March 19th, the next meeting, there's a definitive and a positive result of that grant request. On another note, regarding the town workshop meeting on February 12th, and the issue was brought up regarding a joint venture with the county and Scenic Hudson for the, I don't know if it's I guess it's a purchase from the holding company of Lake Walton. And probably about 2 years ago, when the Cannon property was being entertained to be purchased in this very same venue, I had a respectable exchange with town attorney, Mr. Wood, regarding the anticipated tax receipts after it in fact comes off of the tax roll. And at that time, I was assured, where it was a fairly positive thought, that there would be some sort of home sales or whatnot for income coming back into the tax rolls as a result of the town's ownership of that property. And I'll quote, even in these economic times, unquote, that's what the assurance was at the time. Now, that may have been a prudent purchase at the time, given the need and the successful water supply for the Hopewell North Water District. But regarding the purchase of Lake Walton, I believe it's 93 acres or 92 acres, I personally do not, cannot, would not support that purchase coming off the tax rolls when it has other potential of building lots and contributions into the tax roll. That's it, thank you.
Okay,
Oh, by the
thank
way,
you.
one last, given my first thought, I want to thank all the efforts of the town employees, Councilman Marinaro, Councilman Franco, who has been very much involved in the Hillside Lake grant, and yourself.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
We've been working on these grants for, as you know, many, many years.
I do
We
know
have
that.
11 of them.
4.5 years that I have been chasing you.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on general town issues?
Good evening. John, regarding the Cannon property, I was wondering, do they have to come back to the town again for public hearing?
For the
For one-
project across the
Yes.
street? Yeah, they have to go to the planning
Well, the
board.
planning board, and the planning board will probably be scheduling public hearings, I would say, by April.
So the town board is not going to be involved in,
No,
huh?
we're done.
Planning board.
Planning board.
Why is that? I'm curious.
Because the modification in the law sets a limit on the number of units that can be created, and not delegates, but vests the planning board with the issuance of the special permit and site plan.
Yeah, but how about getting the town board's opinion?
Well, they did by amending the zoning ordinance to allow it as the town board's directive. It's like most of the other things in the zoning code. They don't come back to the town board once the town board adopts the law.
But you can always attend a planning board meeting, they have public hearings there also.
Well, I'm just curious to know where the town board is at with this. I know that, I don't know, I'm surprised they don't have to come back to the town board. Is that,
Well, it was here, we had the public hearing in January here with the town board, and the town board took comments, and then the town board amended the law, which then the developer then went and filed this application with the planning board.
right, all right. Tom, as far as speeding,
Yeah,
having it
I've
reduced?
spoken several times with counsel to the Commissioner of Transportation.
Yeah.
They are, still looking at what I discussed with them, but basically they feel that the only way that the town board could drop the speed limit would be if the state legislature did a special act to authorize the East Fishkill Town Board to lower the speed limit.
And what's involved in all of that?
Well, that's a complicated process. What has to happen is the town board has to make the request. It has to be introduced in both the Senate and the Assembly by our local legislators. It has to be voted on by both bodies of the legislature. It comes back to
That ain't going anywhere too soon. So
and
that
the governor
leads.
has to sign it.
Oh, all right. Well, that leads to my next question. What can we do about getting speed humps? And I think there's a difference between bumps and humps and,
That's right.
right?
There's three different things.
And what is the other one?
Well, the one's the
Yeah.
humps, bumps, and
Okay.
I know it is.
I know about, all right, I won't even go there, but, can we get some speed humps, John, do you think,
On a town road?
in Hillside Lake?
On a town road?
I guess, I don't know.
In a driveway or private road, would be no problem if they did it, but I don't know on a town road. Have to discuss that with the highway superintendent.
And what do you think would need to be discussed?
Excuse me?
What do you think?
Well, I'm not in favor of putting speed bumps, speed humps, or whatever the other thing is in the town road, because then where are you going to put them? They're going to be all over town. I don't know if that's a prudent thing to do.
I mean, all it would do, I mean, these humps, from what I understand, it's like what they got in the shopping centers. You can go over them I don't know what the rate of speed is, but I mean, it's not like a bump where you got to stop altogether. You're going to slow down a little bit. It's going to sort of force you to slow down. So I don't understand.
Also, we did include the speed bumps in the survey of Hillside Lake community. That was one thing. That was the least requested thing.
Well, being that you're mentioning that, you know, when that, first of all, when that survey or whatever it was that, you know, you polled Hillside Lake residents, that could have been very misleading for anybody, because somebody could have thought that they had a choice of one or the other.
I can see that in the results. We had, I don't know, almost 200 results. I don't know. I'd have to check on the number of results.
All I'm saying is that, I mean, I didn't think of it. All my interest was to lower the speed limit. So that's what I checked off. I didn't see anything saying if you don't want, you know, if we can't do the speed limit or whatever, you have other options. You know, John, the bottom line is this. We got a situation that really needs to be addressed. I'm not in favor of speed humps either, but I am in favor of people slowing down that might save some lives.
Okay.
So I don't know what the objection really is.
Okay, I'd ask the police.
And
Can the police department
Can I
make a
just say
sweep
one
of
thing? If there was
Hillside
any
Lake?
thought of doing it, we would have to get from our insurance carrier a letter.
Tom?
They understand and acknowledge it, because many towns have done this, have had their liability insurance non-renewed.
Tom,
So,
are we talking about speed humps?
any
I think if we're going to talk about speed humps, number one, we should have a highway superintendent here
Of course.
because it is his road. So we're not going to be making any decision. But if you'd like, I'd ask the chief of police if we could make major sweeps of Hillside Lake for speeders. If
John,
that's what
I
you
think I got
to
an
do it.
answer to that already, and that is that, you know, they're overwhelmed with other things, and that's
No,
some of the
if
problem.
that's, I don't know any other way to resolve your issue. We can't lower the speed limit. Obviously, it's as low as it can be by our authority. I do not endorse speed bumps, but it's up to the highway superintendent.
Could I ask you why?
No, I'm just saying
curious.
that I would have to look into it further. I would talk to a traffic expert, but in my mind, putting me on town road, then we're going to have speed bumps on other town roads. I'm a little concerned about endorsing that idea. So if you're having a problem with speeders, the only thing I could think of is asking the police department to do a sweep of Hillside Lake. I don't know any other answer. Can't think, you know, we can't lower the speed limit, so.
I know one thing, we need a solution. I don't know about any other answers either, but we need a solution, and obviously, it'll be forever before they lower the speed limit. So just to do not much, I don't know. I mean, I asked East Fishkill Police about patrolling, and they were overwhelmed, and how do you figure that, you know, that you're going to get a...
We'll see what we can do.
Oh, okay. All right.
What I probably, well, let me talk to them about this and see what we can do.
Well, what I'm going to say is not a reflection on the present highway superintendent, but I'd like to ask Tom, is there a way to, instead of electing a highway superintendent, to have one appointed? What would that require?
Provisions of town law provide that the town board could adopt the law 60 days before an election, and then you have to have voter approval. And if the majority of the voters approved of the law, allowing the town board to appoint the highway superintendent, that law would become effective at the end of the term of the current, whatever time you do it.
Is that something that anybody on the board would consider? And the reason that I, you know, suggest that is because many times, including tonight, you know, it's got to go back to the highway superintendent. And you've stated on numerous occasions that you don't have any say over the highway superintendent. So I think it would be a good idea, in my opinion, that one be appointed in the future. And that way, whoever the supervisor is can have some say as to what goes on.
Okay.
Is that something that you would
I would have to think
consider?
about it. I'd have to think about it.
Okay. You think maybe by the next meeting you might be able to have an answer on that?
You bring this on me, Bob, I'd have to really sit down and think about it. I don't know if I'd have it thought out by the next meeting, and it's a big subject. It's a big thought. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that.
But the point is simple.
Oh, I understand the point.
Accountability.
No, I understand the point, yeah.
Instead of the supervisor being able to...
Oh, no, I understand the point.
Okay.
I really understand the concept. I'd just like some time to think about it. And then, will I have it for the next meeting? I can't say what happened for the next meeting.
Okay.
I'd just like some time to give it some thought. And
All right.
obviously, the town board should give it some thought, because this is, I'm only...
Well,
gonna vote
I
five.
did present it to the
Okay.
town board. I
Okay,
didn't
so
just
everybody give it some
direct
thought.
it to you. I would appreciate if the town board does consider that. One other thing that some people might laugh or think it's crazy, but I've been called crazy before. I think that the town ought to start to consider some sort of ruling on these drones, you know, for recreational use.
Drones?
Yeah. They're a big issue. You know, when I thought about it, all I kept doing was hearing it on the news. It became a big issue. You got lakes, you know, and it's very easy to have people starting. They're very inexpensive. I don't know if you know anything about them.
Never heard one, never seen one.
Oh, okay.
On TV.
Okay. People are buying them for personal use. They range from $150 to I don't know how much. And someone can fly this thing in the town, which would be a distraction, in a lake or whatever. The federal government has rulings on it. But that's only to the extent of, forget the word I'm looking for, but I think that the town ought to start investigating and planning for some rules pertaining to this, so that we don't have people flying drones in front of our house at lakes where you want to be peaceful and everything else. You might want to familiarize yourself with that, and I say that, you know.
We used to have the airplane field. I don't know, they used to fly those airplanes over there. They're nothing like drones, or nothing like that.
No, John, the point is, right now, there's no control over these things.
Yeah, but there's no control over the planes either, is there?
I don't know, but these things are a lot different than the planes.
Okay.
I mean, you know, once you investigate it, you'll see where this could all go, and if nothing gets done about it, you know, it's going to be a problem down the line.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Anybody else like to comment on general town issues? There being none, do I have a motion to close the town board meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Town board meeting is now closed. The next town board meeting will be, excuse me, can I reopen the town? I need to make one comment, Tom. I don't know if I have to reopen. We had discussed possibly if we had to entertain any votes at the March 12th.
If it's going to be for them, we could do it as a special meeting and do them.
Why don't we just do that then? Okay, so the next town board meeting actually will be a special public hearing at Fire Training Headquarters on the Hopewell Precision Superfund site, and EPA will be there to provide information on their project, and then the next regular meeting will be March 19th, which will be a week earlier than normal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.